Howdy peeps, and welcome back to, well, the next part of the Eduard Spitfire build series. I'm giving up on trying to remember which part it is completely now. There is not a chance. I think I've got 5 parts uploaded at this point and somewhere near 10 or 12, something like that, recorded, ready to go. So we were starting the decals last time. We'd put on the left, which is the left is port, am I right? I think port side, main decals, and the roundels on the top of the wings. And if I bring you in a little closer, we'll be able to see how they've snugged into the panel lines. I'll just show you on the wing, as they're all basically the same. Get the roundel roughly in the middle. As you may be able to see, it has sunken itself down into the panel lines and into the rivet detail as well. I did give it an extra coat of aqua gloss, not aqua gloss, dumbass, solver set, just to make sure, but it didn't really need it. And as we can see on the side as well, all sunk into the panel lines. Now what I did also do, because there was some swearing involved, I started putting the shark mouth on. Now there's a few little creases in there that need dealing with, but that's not a tricky problem. We can soon sort those out with a sharp knife and a bit more solver set. So let's continue before the water gets cold. I'll zoom you back out again. Whee! So pop the model to one side slightly. We'll switch to the ganky manky old cutting mat, which may well actually have bits of broken plastic on it at the moment. I had some fun with a hammer and a pair of anvil loppers last night with a couple of old models. So what do we have left on the, I'll say left hand side, it might be starboard, port, starboard, I never know. Is it left is port, right is starboard? I can never remember. So all we have left decal wise this side is the eyes, the Grey Nurse logo, and the other part of the shark mouth. So we'll get the first part of that, which is 22. That works out quite well. We can just chop that straight off. And then trim it up afterwards to get rid of the excess backing, so we're not carting around a huge piece of paper. So if we place that to the front, I find it strange it's got two pairs of, it's got a pair of eyes on each side, but never mind. So that's 19 and then 14. Result. I'll leave the decal number on the 19 so I know which one it is, at least. Right. And then one of the Grey Nurses, number 25. Although whether it makes any difference as they're identical decals, we don't know. And again, pop the decals well out of the way of any water or solutions, because if we get them wet, we're just going to have to finish all of them in one shot. So again, I've got hot water in the jar, and one thing I have noticed by using hot water, a bit of a side effect, is that you pop the decal in and it curls up like they normally do with cold water, but as soon as it warms up it straightens back out again. So there's not that to deal with. So looking at the underside where the shark mouth has wrinkled in a couple of places, what we can just do is carefully just cut the decal with a knife. Obviously you need to wait for it to dry completely before you do this, otherwise it will just rip up and tear on you. The little ones there as well, we'll just chop those. And what that does is it will just allow the decal to overlap itself and sit down flat with any luck. Trying to get the lids off these water pens with one hand is not exactly easy. We'll just give it a quick douse with some Solvaset or Microsol if you don't have Solvaset, just in the affected areas. And by the time we've got the rest of the decals on, that will be all good and soft and we can nudge it in and flatten it out. So we're on this side. Again, back to the same regimen. Some of the micro set on first. It is set, yeah, the blue top one. Oh, itchy nose today. I might need to trim the hair, if that's not too gross an image. It's one of these things that happens as a man when you get older. Hair stops growing where you want it to and it starts growing where you don't want it to. Just level that out a little more. There we are. Just carefully a bit more set over the top. If we add too much, we can, no, I keep saying we, like we're doing this together, when probably not, in all likelihood. It's the royal we. But Eric, yeah, what we don't want to do is add so much solution that all we end up doing is basically floating the decal back out of position again. This one's going to be fun, the next part of the shark mouth, because the eyes are going to be lining up with this, and yes, I did forget to put any set underneath it. So quickly douse the area and manoeuvre the decal into position. Hopefully it will move. There we go. So I've done it that way because I don't want to go putting the eyes on and then realising that the mouth is going to cover the eyes, because that would look a bit silly. I mean, it's one of my models, so it's probably going to look silly anyway, but you know. It's the same way with instruction books. Remember the set. You'll look at a model kit and you'll start building it, and you might realise that step one might not be the best place to start at. For example, if it's a tank, sometimes it's a good idea to get the road wheels done first, get them out of the way, or get the get the tracks done out of order, not necessarily exactly when it tells you to in the instructions. It's just little things we pick up as we go through our modelling career. There we go. Don't put things in your mouth sharp. It's a horrific habit I have. I'll just stick the cocktail stick in my mouth, or well, it's not too bad doing it with a cotton wool bud, but cocktail stick, probably best not to, unless you really want to spike yourself. Let's give these a go, rubbing down any the areas in the black, not quite so successful, but again we can go back and give it another dose and another treatment and get it to press down. But if I bring it up a bit closer, you can see we've successfully got rid of the some of the major creases. I'll just do a bit more nudging down on this side, see if we can't get rid of that one and that one. And that one while we're at it. There we go. So now again, being careful where we hold the model so we don't put our fingers on the freshly applied decals or the ones that have got Solvaset or anything like that on them, because they will be soft and delicate. He says brutalising the decals. And we just like last time, working out any liquid or air that happens to be trapped underneath. And then we can hit it with the micro sol. Now, some of these you'll look and you'll see that they look shiny. Now that's not necessarily always silvering. In this case it's just simply the difference in sheen, or the variance in sheen or shine between the forgotten the name of it now, the film, the carrier film, that's it. Difference in sheen, variation in sheen between the carrier film and the paintwork is visible now, but once we put a coat of gloss on this to weather onto to protect the decals, then everything will be the same sheen level, so it won't matter anymore. And we move that just a little out of the way and we start back on the other side. So there were the two round ones on the bottom of the wings that I've already put those on. Well, I did those while I was doing the shark mouth. So we start back with the little ace of spades. One thing I sometimes find useful, it's not so easy on this because the decals are fairly well mixed up on the decal sheet, but certainly with kits like Airfix where you get like the standard markings that are going to be on usually both schemes that are in the box, you can get rid of the ones for the schemes that you're not doing, because they'll be delineated. With Airfix decals you'll get a black line and it'll say which option they're for, and you can just chop off the ones you're not going to need and get them out of the way so you they're not in the way anymore. Anyway, but don't throw them in the bin. I've got a box full of spare decals, and they do come in useful fairly regularly. See, like with this part of the sheet, I know I don't need that anymore. So I just add it to my pile of decals that are waiting to go into the box. And it's the V next. So there, it's on a small decal sheet like this, it's not so much of a problem. And another thing I do is when I get big chunks of just backing, chop them off, chuck them in the bin. So we're dealing with a smaller and smaller sheet, not one with floppy, flappy bits all over it. You know what I mean, where you've cut decals out all over the place and it just ends up like a lattice, almost falling apart in your hands. It just makes life easier. Also gives you something to do if you're waiting for the decals to lift off the backing paper. Which in this case, as I say, being cartograph decals, oh excuse me, and hot water, they come off almost instantly anyway. So that's those dunked. Dry off the tweezers. Have a look at the time. 17 minutes. We're not doing too badly today. So it's just these, and then the other part of the shark mouth. Right, it's just these, and then what we just put on the other side. So we might actually get them all done today. And then it'll be on with the stencils, which doesn't look too bad. I might just do the major ones, the larger stencils on camera. It's whether you want to sit there and see me trying to get dozens of tiny little ones in position. It's not the most interesting thing to do, let alone watch. So, grab my set. The other bonus with brushing this stuff on is it does clean off any dust, which, as we all know, is kind of an occupational hazard with a cave or at the bench, full stop. Whether it be overspray dust or sanding dust, or if you're a naughty boy like me and you smoke, ash. Yeah, these things, yeah, they get there. And one thing I do before, as I say, once this is all done, we get round to putting the clear coat on, which again I'll probably do that off camera because it'll take me about a minute or two to spray it. Same to clean down the airbrush. Then it'd just be a case of waiting for it to dry or cure. And not going to be the most interesting of things to sit and watch. And it isn't as though there's any specific knack to just spraying a utility coat of aqua gloss or X22. You just basically cover the model. Oh yeah, my nose is definitely itchy. Definitely needs a trim. Can you tell it's only recently that I've changed the way I do decals? Kind of copying what Paul Bretland's done from ISM. So it's a new, I want to say it's not necessarily a new way of doing it, it's just paying attention to what's written on the bloody bottle, not automatically thinking you know what you're doing. Now the trick with these ones on the opposite side is to try and get them to line up left to right, and then get them in the right place and angle. That one is literally just above that panel line, so we've got to come down a little to about there. So you make a slight change to a method of doing something. You know what I forgot to do? I forgot to chop off the roundel, didn't I? Fool. There we go. Give that a quick dunk. So because they're good decals, the water's hot. Oh, bloody nose. By the time we've put the V on, the roundel will be ready to come off. And again, although my fingers are clean at the moment for a change, as you can see it's just floated off back in the shot. So even though my fingers are clean at the moment, it's I prefer to try not to touch the decal with my finger if I can, usually, especially with the smaller ones. Yeah, that looks about right. I will just, I'm not actually going over the decal here, I'm just soaking up some of the excess solution before it just goes everywhere and the decals start floating off the plane again, which I have had happen in the past. Spend ages perfectly positioning some big old decal, only to then have it move as soon as you put the solution on. So again, we line up side to side and height to height. A little bit below that, so somewhere around there-ish. That looks about right to me. Oh, check the time. And we've got the, give it a little squeeze so we've actually got something coming out. Just the ZP to add, and then we're back to chopping more decals off the sheet. Not in your mouth. I'm pretty sure you could do without me trying to talk with a cocktail stick in my mouth, especially if I do what I normally do and stab myself somewhere with it. That's in about the right place. Yep. Just below, yeah, that'll do. Right, let's just have a quick look, see at the nose on this side. Everything's settling down nicely. Not that there's really any panel lines to worry about down there. Maybe some rivets, but that will soon sink into those. I'm definitely going to have to get the nose trimmers out later. So we have about another 5 more minutes of video time left. So let's get these last few chopped off and stuck on. Oh, I could go on all day and actually just... People that have actually been in hangouts or whatever with me and actually seen me build or whatever will know I can just sit here all day if I want to. If something's grabbed me, I'll just get on and do it. But I kind of want to get this done, well, this video anyway, and get these last few decals on. That's 20, which is the front one. And once these are on, I can then start on the MiG for the MiG-21 build. Yay! It might not be a tank, but it is Russian. That's good enough. Right, so again, we got some stars and bars left over, so they can go in the pile ready to go into the spare decals box. You might notice I'm trying to put the decals back in the water's cooled down somewhat. Yeah, they're not returning to flat as soon as they come out anymore. I find the hotter the water, the easier it is. Obviously not boiling, she'd probably just melt the decal, but you know. Right. Oh, do I want to solver set the other side? No, I'll leave it for now. I'll do it all at the same time. So, oh, pardon me. So first up will be the grey nurse logo. Randomly it's on the grey, so whether it will actually be visible I don't know. Somewhere around there. And my bin is directly down by the side of me, so that if you're wondering where the bits of backing are going, they're going straight in the bin. I just shake them off the end of the tweezers and in they go. I think it's about there, maybe a little lower down. That'll do. Close enough. Again, the shark mouth final part goes on before the eyes do, just to make sure we don't put the eyes over, or put the eyes where the mouth's going to go. Practice what you preach. The trick here is getting it to line up. There we are. We're there. Now the eyes. Yeah. Don't think I've got the mouth quite centralised on the bottom. But hey ho. There's one eye. And Tip it up, see if I can see where the other one is. Third exhaust stack. Right. So they're released in roughly the same place, left to right. We don't want it looking totally boss-eyed. It's going to look weird enough having 4 eyes on it anyway. Again, the usual set over the top of everything. Pop the lid back on. Now we can go over with the cotton wool bud, just to make sure there's nothing underneath. Bit soon maybe, so I'll be very gentle with these ones. And then I will go over with the sole, micro sole, sorry, and solver set. Just make sure everything's snugged down nicely. And then it's going to be onto the stencils. So hope that has well, kept you occupied at least for a little while. See you on the next part. Enjoy your modelling, have fun, peace out, rock on, and bye bye.